Hi, I'm a Senior Fisheries Scientist with the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. Today I'll be giving an overview on the stock assessment process and results for king threadfin in the Gulf of Carpentaria. We do stock assessments to give us a measure of the health of fish stocks, which is used to inform management decisions. I want to point out that as this is not a live video, you can pause it at any time to absorb some of the content along the way. You can use the chapters in this video to navigate to a particular area of interest. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the land from which I'm recording today. Nara, hello, I am in Namba in Gabi Gabi or Kabi Kabi country. I also want to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the sea country on which this work was based. King threadfin have significant cultural and spiritual value to some First Nations communities in Queensland. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening to this video. This stock assessment was undertaken after a previous assessment estimated the Gulf of Carpentaria stock to be around 5% of the unfished level, using data through to December 2019. This current stock assessment took place over a 16-month period from February 2023 to May 2024 and was guided by a project team made up of many subject matter experts, including fishery managers, scientists, data specialists, and 3 representatives from the fishing industry. The fishing industry representatives provided insights on the commercial and charter fishing sectors. We acknowledge the significant time commitment and deep operational and technical expertise of our industry representatives. This project has benefited greatly from their input. This assessment is different from the previous assessment in several respects. Firstly, it considers data through to December 2022 and includes additional historical age and length datasets from FRDC-funded research projects in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Secondly, it was guided by a project team consisting of multiple experts, including representatives of the fishing industry. Thirdly, it was independently reviewed and incorporates feedback from that review. Fourthly, a most likely range is given for the biomass rather than a single value. As best practice, the department conducts independent reviews of stock assessments and other scientific reports on a regular basis. After the assessment was completed, the report and associated modelling files underwent an independent review process. This review was conducted by Dr. Simon Hoyle and Alistair Dunn. Generally, the reviewers agreed with the conclusions of the stock assessment in their initial review. They commented the estimated biomass trend and stock status appeared to generally match the catch history and age structure, although they did note that the assessment was likely underestimating uncertainty around the stock status estimates. The reviewers made valuable points of feedback and recommendations, nearly all of which we were able to use to improve our assessment. The reviewers commented that the assessment is now significantly improved, linked more closely to an understanding of the biology and to information provided by fishing industry representatives. Many of the recommendations provided in the review can be used to help improve future assessments. The stock assessment, the independent review, and our response to the review can be found online. You can find a link to these documents in the video description. Also, to round out the process, the final chapter of our response document details the reviewer's response to our incorporation of their feedback. The development of any stock assessment model requires some key decisions to be made along the way. We know that some of these decisions can have an impact on the outcome of the model, so we run several scenarios to try different combinations of data inputs and model settings. Several scenarios were run to explore different settings of the instantaneous natural mortality rate, steepness, catchability increase, spatial data weighting, and spatial extent of the stock. From these exploratory scenarios, a final ensemble of 8 scenarios were chosen for inclusion in summary reporting. This assessment used the stock synthesis modelling framework, one of the most widely used and tested stock assessment models in the world. Once stock synthesis found our results and the best fit to the data inputs, we went through an extra step of analysis to explore how certain we are of these results. This process is called an MCMC algorithm, or Markov chain Monte Carlo, which reruns the model about 30,000 times in this case to understand the probability of our answer being correct. This means we get a more robust understanding of model predictions and precision, but the graphs we show you might look a bit different to what you might be used to. In this case, we're not giving a single number as our biomass estimate. Instead, we're providing a range, or credible interval, in which 95% of these model runs fell. This is a new way of reporting biomass for king threadfin, using MCMC results to represent the probability of outcomes across all the scenarios tested. This update to our reporting is based on recommendations from the Sustainable Fisheries Expert Panel and by the king threadfin stock assessment reviewers. The advantage is that often in stock assessment there is more uncertainty than indicated by a single scenario, and it is important that we reflect this uncertainty in the final biomass outputs. This graph shows the biomass trajectory of the stock since 1955. The model estimated that at the beginning of 2023, king threadfin in the Gulf of Carpentaria was between 13 and 44% of unfished biomass, shown by the light grey shading on the graph. Now let's look closer at the estimates in the final year. Because we reran the model about 30,000 times, we got about 30,000 estimates for the biomass at the beginning of 2023. Here we can see each of those estimates. Now we can't learn much from a graph like this, but if we organise the data into larger groups, we can see a curve starting to form. This curve summarises all of our 30,000 estimates of biomass at the beginning of 2023. 95% of the estimates fall between 13 and 44% of unfished biomass. That's indicated by the dashed lines. So there's about a 95% chance that the current biomass is within this range. The red shading shows that 29% of our estimates fell below the limit reference point of 20% biomass. This means there's a 29% chance that the current biomass is below the limit reference point of B20, or 20% of unfished biomass. The sand-coloured shading indicates that there's a 66% chance the current biomass is between 20% and 40% of unfished biomass. The blue shading indicates there's a 5% chance the current biomass is between 40 and 60% of unfished biomass. The green shading, which is barely visible, indicates that there's a negligible chance that the current biomass is above 60% of unfished levels. This stock assessment was greatly improved from industry involvement on the project team, and future assessments should continue to build collaboration between industry and government. The assessment results have been delivered to the Fishery Management team, who will work with the Gulf of Carpentaria Inshore Fishery Working Group to consider the implications and the next steps for fishery management. That's all from me. Thank you for watching and have a great day.